tail said poof.
No, don't take pictures.
Hello.
We have to bring them water when we get back.
Okay.
Hello. Well, I have to start the cake.
Ran over all of them. They're all chanterelles, even the dark orange ones, but we're gonna wait on those. So,
Wait, we're waiting on us?
on the dark ones, we'll get those, but let's get the big ones first. What we have learned through our years of hunting chanterelles here on our land, so we have 75 acres, we have some beautiful spots, lots of hardwoods, and we have got a lot of gullies and kind of hillsides. And what we have learned is chanterelles love to grow down a hillside. So anywhere where they're going to get a lot of rain, a lot of drainage, and you can see we're at the bottom of this one, and as we go up, they are all through the hillside, and you can
There's
see
a turtle.
the side-by-side up there. Oh, we spotted a turtle, so we'll go and we'll check him out in a minute. And that's really common. When we come out here and we go mushroom hunting, box turtles are everywhere. So it's kind of one of those little magical things that we get to find while we're hunting for them. But it's just something that we like to do. It's fun. We love to eat them. It's kind of like a treasure hunt. You never know how many you're going to get and which areas are blooming. Because it is kind of like a fruit. The mycelium is underneath the forest floor. It's huge, it's gigantic. We can't even see it because it's under all the layers. But the mushrooms that come up are the fruit, and it's okay to gather it. Now you'll see some people that'll say you need to cut it, and I do carry a mushroom knife with me, but that's only if it's a cool day, we're not getting attacked by bugs. But sometimes it's really hot, and sometimes the mosquitoes are just relentless. And if that's the case, then we don't have time to sit there and cut every one of them and make it really clean. We just go through and we start picking. It's not going to hurt the mycelium. It never has. We've been out here doing this for 6 years now. And we still have, there's some years where you're going to have bumper crops. That's usually when it rains a lot in the spring and the summer. We're going to have a great crop this year. Sometimes if it's too dry, you're not going to get that many because the mushrooms love to have that moisture and the humidity to pop up, or the chanterelles do. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work our way from over here to up top. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have baskets to put your mushrooms in. You want to make sure that you have a walking stick. And this really honestly isn't for walking. These are handmade by my father. He gave us all one for Christmas one year. But this is to keep spider webs from just smacking you in the face. So if you keep it in front of you as you walk through the woods, then you're better off because then you won't get smacked by the spiders. And then, of course, you can carry a mushroom knife with you. You finding some? Oh. Let's open the car.
Go to the beginning.
Stay right there in that area. She's fine. Okay, so Carlin just found a group of what we call false chanterelles. You can see that they have a lot of gills underneath. And you can eat these, but they do not smell like these, okay? So you can kind of look, let's put them side by side. You can see that these have a smooth under, okay? You can see there's some ridges, but they're not the gills that are on the one on the left. The right is a darker kind of color compared to these, even, so you can see there's like a color difference. And then the chanterelle we're looking for that's over here on the right smells delicious. It smells like apricots. Oh, it has such a good smell. And these don't. They do not have that apricot-y smell. So like I said, you can eat them, but that's not what we're after. We want these that taste great, that smell great. They're real meaty. These are not going to be as meaty. So this one's got a velvet purple top. I'm gonna have to look that one up. And we highly recommend bringing your dog along. Because one, they just kind of help if anything happened to show up, snakes, any predators, any small little critters that are around, they're gonna stay away with the dog being around. So we told you there was a turtle in the background earlier, and we went up here and we couldn't find him. And I just bent down to get a mushroom from right there and looked over. And there he is. He's hiding under there and scooted his way. So you can see a lot of these tiny ones. So they're kind of like babies. And we're gonna leave those and come back in a couple of days and they should be a lot bigger. And we also get a lot of the red chanterelles. And I'm just gonna be honest, I don't think they taste great, but they are pretty cool to dye things with. Like a Forager Chef has a great, I think it's like a sherbet red chanterelle ice cream that's pretty cool. So, art. Those are kind of tore up. So here's a nice little patch, and even a nice little patch of red ones over there. So we'll get through these. Okay, so this is our first haul, first stop. Okay, so now we are headed to a spot that I call the honey hole. And it's because we always have success. In this location, we have kind of like a little ravine, little gully there. And you can see they're already greeting us. Look at that. This is just the start. Over that little ridge, there's even more. Okay. So, here we are. Watch out. Watch where we're stepping. Here's where we get bigger ones. And they are all throughout, all the way down. So we are gonna go all the way down and work our way back up. Okay, so I know it looks cute when you're on Instagram and you can see somebody kind of dressed up in 18th century clothing and all cottagey with a basket and mushrooms. But honestly, when you're out in the woods hunting like we do, we cannot do that. First of all, we're trying to avoid those ticks, chiggers, and mosquitoes. We are sweating, so I don't know, I can actually feel it running down my face right now. So, and your hair's just young, and it's really a messy process. Like, it is hard work. So what you want to do is you want to have a long sleeve on. Part of that is also you got to think about poison ivy and stuff. Watch where you're picking, so we don't want anything on our arms. And then underneath our long sleeve shirt, we have got a tight tank, and that helps the bugs not to come up. We have our jeans on, so it's tough and they can't get through that. We have our socks that are tight around our calves and our boots. And this is all just to help where ticks can't get in there and to kind of fight off the mosquitoes. Bug spray is also a must. Even though it's not my favorite, we really have to have it when we're out here. And we not only spray it around our heads, but we also spray the middle and around our boots too, for just in case. We do. So this is one of my favorite locations in this little gully here, or Carl would call it a ditch. I try to make it more romantic, a gully, but it's so beautiful. It's all on the side here. It gets pretty massive. Alright, this is after our second spot. We are completely full. So all baskets are completely packed. Is you hot, Carlin? Yes. I wanted to share with you the two books that I really like using while mushroom hunting. Like, I've had this since 2017. That's how long I've had these books. But this one is Mushrooms of the Southeast. It is really good. You have large pictures. They sit there, they go through all of this information. Obviously have forgotten for about the last 3 years to record. I do know that last year was a terrible year for chanterelles because it was so dry. But we also have this book, which is The Field Guide of Mushrooms of the Carolinas. Now, Carolinas has a lot of the same season as we do here in Northeast Mississippi, and this one is actually the one I prefer. I like to use both of them. I read both of them. I compare, but I really like this one because they have more information, really easy editability, choice. So you definitely want that one. Unknown, probably don't want to mess with that one. Trying to see if I can find one of the indigo. Of course I can't. I'm sitting here trying to find it. Ah, there we go. Okay. So silver, milky, and then you'll have this is the indigo that we found. So creamy white, solitary, edible. But it doesn't say choice. And then it'll say unknown. And then let's see if I found one. What's that unknown? Some of them are do not inedible. So don't eat that. Inedible. But anyway, both of them are really good books. Highly recommend getting those if you are going to be foraging mushrooms, as well as just research some of the top mushroom people out there in the United States in your area. So you have got Mushroom Mountain. You can go there. I've actually seen him in person at the Mother Earth Fair and listened to his seminars in person. And then you can also go to North Spore. They have great information, a lot of helpful stuff there. So that's just some suggestions. All right, so we got in and we're all cleaned up now. So now it's time to tackle putting the mushrooms up. So we have our 3 baskets here on the floor. I'm going to take this basket and I'm going to set it over here in this chair. We're going to cut the bottoms off. So we're going to sit there and cut the dirt and everything off. We are going to dip them in rinse. So I've cleaned all the sinks and stuff, sterilized it. I'm going to pour more water in this sink. We're going to dip, really wash. Then we're going to do water and vinegar. So we have our distilled white vinegar down there. We're going to put it in here. Do that to kill any of the bugs that are possibly on it. And then we're going to move them to these drying racks. So, of course, they're going to fill up really quickly. So we'll just try to keep rotating those. It's kind of a messy process and it's going to take a while. So it takes just as long to clean all these as it does to gather them. So we are going to get started. Okay, you want to get your mushrooms put up as soon as possible. So as soon as you pick them, you really want to make sure either designate a whole morning, whole afternoon, whole day doing mushrooms. So let's get started. Okay, so I like to use a toothbrush to clean my mushrooms because it gets in there so you can go up and down, sideways, and get in little cracks and crevices. And this one is designated just for mushrooms, so you keep it in a separate location. That way you're only using it with mushrooms. Because we tend to use toothbrushes. These are just like the cheapies. So we also have one that's the same color as the hedgehog toothbrush. So that's the one that the kids use to give the hedgehog a bath. So we don't want to get those mixed up. You're gonna want to refresh your water after a little while. So we're just gonna put a fresh batch of water in this sink, and then I just did a fresh batch of vinegar water here. So you would just want to make sure, like, as you go through, so that was about 4 different dips, and as the water starts to get dirty, then you just want to go ahead and refresh it. Okay, so our 4 trays here are completely full. I still have some in this one, and that's just the junk. And then I still have all these in this basket, and we haven't even touched those 2 baskets. So what I'm fixing to do is I am going to go and completely clear off the dining room table, and we are going to use that to start putting the mushrooms on. Okay, so this is 2 basketfuls. So we have these 2 racks and then this whole table full. And I still have that 1 big basket to do. What we're gonna do with the chanterelles is we're gonna do 3 different things. We're gonna freeze dry some, we are going to dehydrate some and make it into a powder, and then we are going to saute and freeze the rest. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do 2 freeze jar full of chanterelles. So I actually have plenty that are stored up in the Mylar bags, but it's always nice to have more because mushrooms equal protein. So it's a great protein source if we need it, and we can always go if we run out of what we have in the freezer and in the powder form. So I'm going to fill up the large freeze dryer and one of the medium freeze dryers. Then I'm going to do the freeze dry mushrooms first because I need to put them on the trays and have them freezing in the freezer. Then we're going to do the dehydrated mushrooms, and I'm going to fill all of the trays up and put them in there. And then whatever we have left over is what I'm going to saute. So let's get started and do the freeze drying first. I took the mushrooms off of the table that you saw in the video, and now I'm going to separate them into the trays. What I need to do is I need to trim off any of the brown that's around the edges. That just happened last night in the drying process. So normally I would try to get these in the freezer already and try to get them put up before nightfall. But honestly, it was getting 8, 9 o'clock. I was still going through that last basket of mushrooms. Even I was taking a few little breaks because my fingers were getting all raisiny and stuff and pruny. So this is just excess from that, from having to sit. But it's no big deal. You can get rid of it. You just need to snip it off and put it in there. I don't need parchment paper. Mushrooms are going to dry very dry. So freeze dry and really dry. And you don't need parchment paper on your trays for that. You only want to use parchment paper when you're dealing with like a sticky fruit and then some candies and stuff like that. But if it's anything dry like this, you'll be fine. So we're just gonna get started. We're going to snip these, then I'm gonna pull them apart, and then I'm gonna try to fill the tray as much as I can with leaving some room for the airflow, and we will get those in the freezer. Okay, so we have all 5 trays in here, one up there, and waiting for them to freeze. I already started loading the dehydrator, so what I'm doing is I'm just bringing a tray in here, and as it has the mushrooms on it, a lot of them don't even have to be trimmed, and I'm just splitting them up. Now, because the trays only have like that much space, I am having to kind of like piece them together, but the dehydrated ones are going to be powdered, so it really doesn't matter what they look like because they're just going to get chopped up anyway. So you can sit here, you can actually put a lot, just like the freeze dry trays, you can put a lot of mushrooms on these. They're going to dry really nice, and so there's plenty of room. If you just want to, you can put a lot on as long as they get really dry. And they will, they dry pretty nice. All right, so we have all 9 trays filled up. So what we're gonna do, you see they are pretty packed, just like I wanted them. We're gonna close it up and we are going to set the Excalibur. Okay, so we have it set on vegetable, the first one, not fruit or fruit roll-ups, but on the vegetable one. And then we are going to do 10 hours this time. And if I come back and it needs more, we'll just add some more time to it. Now doing our medium trays. You probably hear the dehydrator in the background. Went ahead and got that started in between the large and the medium. So we're gonna do the same thing, just snip off any of the darker ends that don't necessarily like. And we are going to pack these trays as much as we can with still giving some airflow. So once again, these mushrooms just freeze dry really well, so I'm not too worried about them being kind of close together. Okay, got them done. Now it's time to put them in the freezer. I've got 2 large, 1 medium, 3 large, and then 3 medium. Well, we had to leave and I forgot to turn the dehydrator off, so the tops got crispy and they are burned. So it's okay, I'm still gonna powder them. Let me see. Oh yeah, they're fine. So we're gonna powder these, do those, and that's what we're gonna do. Load them up. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this table out, so I'm going to catty corner it because you have 2 of them going. That's a lot of heat. They need more airflow, and then we're going to turn on the air conditioner as well because it's going to get really hot. So this is why we decided to go with these tables with the wheels, because it allows us to move the table back and forth. These machines are really heavy, and it allows me to get back there and change the oil in the motors. And then it allows airflow. We have a big gap here, but that's still not quite a big enough gap sometimes. So letting that air go through, and then we're gonna turn the air on. And it's going to, we're gonna do the swing. And that way it'll keep, and it'll just kind of push that air through here and keep it circulating. So it's gonna get pretty loud in here, especially when it goes into the drying process. It's really gonna get going. I actually don't want to cook them. I'm just sauteing them. I'm halfway cooking them and then just heating them up. It's almost, imagine like you're blanching, but you're just doing it with the mushrooms. That way they're gonna cool down. I'm gonna pack them up. So I'm gonna pack them up in our bags once they are cool, and then that way when I bring them out, they're going to be ready, and I'm just gonna continue to cook them. Once I defrost them, put them in the pan, then I can finish cooking them for the actual supper. So it doesn't take long at all. Just a little salt. And that's it. Put that to the side. Go ahead and do this one on here. Won't take it long at all. Definitely gotta have some butter. That's why you can't freeze dry it this way, because you can't freeze dry all that butter I put in it. We're gonna let that cool down, and then we're gonna pack them up. I actually would probably transfer this to a plate. So this right here is about the size of what I want to put in the bag. So that's about 1 meal. So I like to split my bags into meals. I don't like to make huge bags. They're just unfunctional, and I'm gonna open them and then waste it. So we're just gonna do, every bag is gonna equal a meal. Okay, so now I am going to fill our bags so they are cooled off. We ended up with 4 trays. I switched from the plate to the trays just because it's a lot easier. So we're gonna start packing these bags. We'll have to wipe all the butter off of them, or the oils, before we seal them. So that's going to be important to remember. That way they seal properly. it is done. I actually increased it by 2 hours, and then I just popped it up just a little bit to give me time to do the bags, because it was about 5 something, and I heard the machine going off, and so I came in here and it was cold. So I don't know how long the machine had been off. I just know it was long enough to make the door cold. And if the door is cold, then I go ahead and I do another 2 hour, because I don't know how long it's been off. Because sometimes you don't hear them, and especially if 2 of them are going and the air conditioner is going, you don't hear the machine go off, and so you'll miss it. But we're gonna sit here and we're gonna pull these, and I'm gonna go ahead and cancel, and no defrost, and it's gonna be done. Okay, so plain screen now, and then we will let the air out. Make sure my bucket's out a little bit so it doesn't get stuck to the bottom, and slowly let the air out. You want it to go slow, you don't want it to go super fast, and so this will start to shrink. Alright, so we use Mylar bags when we are packing up our personal freeze-dried food and snacks and things that we're putting up for storage for a long time. So we have a ton of these Harvest Right bags, because one, they come with the machines, and then two, I did like a review type thing, and they sent me like 100 of them, so it was pretty cool. So we are pretty stocked on these, and that's why we use them. That's really the only reason why we use the Harvest Right brand. It's just because I got a lot of them for free. But you always want to make sure you label. You always want to make sure that you put the date on there, and then I like to put cooked, not cooked, put specifics about it. And that way later on, because you're not going to remember, and all these bags look the same, and if you don't do that, then you're going to run into some big trouble. So once we fill it, and I don't know how many I'm going to get out of this, the small, not the small machine, the medium machine, but we're going to fill at least 2 bags, I'm sure. Then we're going to go down here, we're going to put it in the sealer, which I have to remind everybody that our health department in Mississippi, they frown upon these sealers. But we pack all of our personal stuff in there, so I don't sell anything, or like for the public, I don't sell them in the vacuum sealer, but we do all of our personal stuff in the vacuum sealer. Go ahead and just stick everything in this one bag, because what I'll end up doing is when I open these up, I will just end up taking them apart, reconstituting, and then just probably saving them for the next meal. So that's the plan there. When it gets in the sealer, it is going to crush them a little bit. So this is going to be more of like a soup, or something that I can just add into something else. It's not going to be us just cooking these to eat as just mushrooms. So the large machine is still going. You can see it is going to hit 18 hours soon. We did have one power outage. We had a storm that came in, and it knocked electricity out for about an hour and 15 minutes. So that's going to be, I was going to show you something there. Actually, time, it was an hour and 30 minutes, sorry. And so it's going to take a little bit to get in there. So the reason this is set up this way is we're trying to make it ideal for health department inspections. So we're working on that. And a dehydrator is perfectly fine. They don't care about that. They don't care if you put oxygen absorbers and you seal them properly, but they do care about these. So it's just a question of from my understanding, just moisture possibly still being inside of the bag. But that's the only reason it's actually on the bottom shelf. I would love to have another one of these tables and have it sitting right here, plus the ceiling, and just have a whole table where it's nothing but you prepping bags. That would be really nice. You have it. Here's your seal bag. See how thin it is. You can see the seal here, and then we always double seal it as well. So I have to go in here and unplug and replug. Now you have a really nice seal. We just like to do that because this is long-term storage. We want it to last for years. Okay, so the large machine is done, and they definitely did not shrink up as much, and that's because I think it just went through a normal cycle where this machine ended up going through an extra dry time that probably honestly made them just a little bit too crunchy. So this is about, we'll double check, especially that thick one right there, and we'll see what happens. Gotta let the valve out. Make sure my bucket's right. Okay, so we'll come back when all this is gone. All right, so let's test this one. And is completely dry in the middle, so they're ready. So that's what I wanted to check for these tougher ones, thicker ones. Okay, so now we can hit no defrost and get this out. Okay, so what we're gonna do with this group is we're actually gonna cut these bags in half and have them for like a meal. Okay, as you can see, this is how big these bags kind of start out, and then this is what they turn out to be. Look how thin. So we're gonna get this one out. Just got finished. And you can see. Okay, so we ended up with 10 small bags and 1 large bag in this round. Okay, so just like our bigger bag, we always double seal our Mylar bags. Okay, so in the end, we ended up with chanterelle powder. We'll probably end up with some more before the season is done. We ended up with 10 bags of frozen chanterelles ready to cook for meals, and 10 bags of freeze-dried chanterelles that we cook. So that's 20 altogether for this, so that's not too bad. 20 sides for meals, or we like to eat these mushrooms for breakfast. And then, like I said, we'll have more of that, but not too bad for our first harvest of this year.